You know what really ruffles my jammies? When Epic Games knows that there are things that objectively make their game better, yet they persist on keeping them out of Fortnite. Contrary to popular belief, I do not think that Fortnite is a perfect game. As a matter of fact, I don't believe that we've ever played the perfect version of Fortnite. And why is that? I honestly think it's because Epic Games, instead of adding on to pre-existing ideas that they know work well, they tend to throw things away. There are certain key concepts and aspects of Fortnite that in my mind should always be inside of the game, that are staples of the game, that are perfect for the way that this video game is played, and yet they get left by the wayside. Last week I told you guys that there were two things Epic Games was afraid of. The first one we already covered, which was backlash, but the second one, this is by far the most egregious of them all. Ladies and gentlemen, quite simply, Epic Games is afraid of fun. Now listen, as we get into this, I know that my list is subjective. I know that some of these things on here are going to be things that you yourself may not enjoy. However, I think for a large majority of Fortnite players, the things that are on this list, a good chunk of you will agree with. And if you don't, that's totally fine. Just feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. My first example of Fortnite not enjoying fun is something that I have talked about relentlessly on this channel for about 2 years now. And for a lot of my long-term subscribers, you know what I'm about to say. Clint, I'm also looking at you because, brother, you and I see eye to eye on this all the time, but it is trap slots. My brothers and sisters in Christ, for the love of all that is holy, I do not understand why in the flying French toast these are not in every single version of builds in Fortnite. Traps were always that cherry on the top that made Fortnite feel a little bit more immersive and a little bit more complex than other video games. Whether it was the spike trap, the electrical trap, launch pads, bounce pads, there was some new layer of depth that each one provided to the gameplay loop, and the last new one that we ever got were the armored walls. I mentioned this in previous videos, but things like this would have saved seasons like Wrecked. Cars would have been so much better to deal with if we had turrets and armored walls. If my friends and I don't have a car, let me and my teammates build a foundation for our builds out of armored walls and turrets. That way we can lay waste to these people that are driving around in cars. Heck, even update the different types of turrets that are available. Maybe make an EMP turret. And see, that's the thing. It's not just about bringing the old trap slots back. It's about making new traps that fit the current meta. Think about all the seasons that we've had since traps have been somewhat removed from Fortnite. I think the last serious chapter where we had them was chapter 3, but for all of chapter 4 and just about all of chapter 5, they were completely absent in builds. It's odd because ever since Zero Builds was introduced, it's almost like Epic is too afraid to add them in because they feel like the experience of playing a game or a version of Fortnite with trap items as compared to a mode that literally could not have them because you can't build in it would just be too different, but that's kind of the point. The building mechanic is what makes Fortnite insanely unique, and I honestly think that part of the reason why I don't enjoy builds as much is because one of the core gameplay mechanics that I fell in love with, which were trap items, are no longer present. I don't care that there are cars on the map. There should always be launch pads there. If I can't find a car, but I've got a launch pad in my inventory, I should be able to use that to try to escape from opponents. Finally, there's one major thing that traps add to Fortnite which is severely lost from the game right now, which is an extra added layer of tension. Think about it. When you play something like OG Fortnite, you constantly have to look at the ceiling of every building, every doorway that you walk into in fear of a spike trap being there to come and smack you. That doesn't exist in the vast majority of Fortnite playlists. I think even in something like Reload, it would be far more enjoyable if you had trap items in there because there's something else that I have to watch out for now. I'll put it to you guys like this. Playing Fortnite without traps is like playing Monopoly without the ability to go to jail. There's just a certain level of tension that is not present when playing the game. I understand that Battle Royale as a concept already includes a certain amount of tension, but the thing is, when you have that extra added layer of danger, whether it's me walking into a building or the way I position myself in a fight because I don't want to get boxed by this loser and have like 3 spike traps put up to kill me, that makes the game more intense but also more exciting. We can't do that anymore. That is a huge aspect of Fortnite's gameplay pattern that is just lost right now in the modern day. I'm telling you guys, in every single build playlist, trap items should exist, and it does not have to be necessarily spike traps, but some new damage item or maybe some new utility item to continue to forward that meta and spice up the gameplay. The same thing goes for this next concept, which Fortnite has been completely afraid of since chapter 2. Why in the flying flip do we not have specific items at specific rarities? This is one of the reasons why Reload and OG are so much fun. Weapons and items feel special. I think the way that Epic mitigates this now is by having specific rarities of weapons only spawn in low amounts or low quantities. Like, for example, it's very difficult at times to find a gold or a purple shotgun in main Chapter 6 BR, but it's still not so difficult that it's impossible. I will say this, I like it to where if you're going to have the same weapon at every rarity, there needs to be a cosmetic change between the blue and the purple variant. For example, the Spaz. Gray, green, and blue shotguns are all the same model and have the same sound, but you go to gold and purple pump shotguns, that's when it changes. The sound is different as well as the damage output. This makes the gun feel rewarding to grab. When I play Fortnite Reload and I find a gold or a purple Spaz, my heart leaps with joy. Now, I will admit this is not always a deal breaker because certain weapons like the Havoc shotgun or the Hammer AR always feel good to me when I get higher rarity versions of those weapons. However, I would argue that those weapons at their base forms are just so damn good that it doesn't really matter what color weapon I get. Regardless, this does not take away from the fact that when you have special items for specific rarities, it makes them feel more special to obtain. I think one of the biggest mistakes of Chapter 4 was having the scar at every rarity. A gray scar feels wrong. Same thing with the green and the blue. Purple and gold is the only way it should be. It made sense that we had a standard base assault rifle that had gray through blue rarity, and if you wanted to upgrade that, or the upgraded version of that would be a completely different AR that had a slightly faster fire rate as well as a higher damage output. Now listen, I understand that to do this, it would require more work and more thought into each loot pool. However, I would argue that this small detail makes a world of difference when it comes to how fun the game is. Like I said, I honestly think that's the reason why a lot of people love OG so much, as well as Reload. Like, weapons, genuinely, they do feel special when you pick them up because I can't get every gun at every single rarity. When Season OG came around, this was something that Ninja and his friends brought up. I'm not the first person to come to this realization. In my mind, there are just so many missed opportunities when it comes to not handling the loot pool in this way. And I honestly think that if you are going to have every weapon at every rarity, there is a really good way to do it, but also give it a really fun gameplay mechanic that will loop into it, which is our next issue that I have with modern Fortnite, which is upgrades and mods. Listen to me, I understand that mods could be a weird thing when it comes to a hit scan based model for gameplay. Mods definitely had more utility when the weapons were bullet drop based. However, I think there's a fun, wacky way that Fortnite could do mods that would make the gameplay loop objectively more fun, as well as upgrade or side grade your weapons. First of all, let's go back to the concept of every weapon at every rarity. If Epic were to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, for some weapons, we will have them at every rarity. However, there is going to be a significant change between blue and purple. That's where the distinction lies. So we need to create a different version of that gun at those rarities. There's a lot that they can do when it comes to the upgrade or the mod aspect of these weapons. For example, the original red dot AR that we had in Fortnite Chapter 4, I believe it was Seasons 1 through 3. There was an upgraded version of it that was added in Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 4, which was the Twin Mag AR. Outside of the Hammer, that is probably the best AR that has ever existed in Fortnite history. It's so good that people absolutely hated it because you would just get beamed from across the map. Even when I play competitive Fortnite and I was getting beamed by other players, I loved that weapon in the loot pool. It made games feel more intense, it was a fun weapon to use, and it made you be a little bit more strategic about your positioning when moving around the map. Anyway, let's relate this back to upgrading our weapons. If the normal red dot AR had have been gray through blue rarity, and then I could have found maybe an attachment of some kind, a different kind of scope, and put that on my red dot AR along with maybe a certain amount of gold and upgraded it into a twin mag, that would have felt insanely rewarding. But listen, I'll being able to upgrade the same class of weapon. What if you made it to where weapon attachments or items that you found on the ground were able to side grade your weapons as well? Like, you could turn a pump shotgun into a tac shotgun, or you could turn a pistol into an SMG. I don't know, just some really wacky stuff. But don't just stop there with the types of weapons that you can upgrade into or side grade to. What about giving certain weapon attachments special abilities? For example, in a season like Lawless, you could have black market exotic weapon upgrades. These would be attachments that would almost work like augments, like they would give you some additional ability, like maybe increasing movement speed, or maybe giving you a certain amount of health back for eliminations. Small changes that could spice up the gameplay and truly make it more dynamic. And you know what? While we're on the subject of dynamic gameplay and special abilities, let's talk about augments, because that's the fourth thing that I think should be a staple inside of Fortnite. I know that augments are a hot topic within the Fortnite community. However, from what I have seen, I believe believe that more people enjoyed them than hated them. That doesn't mean that they were the best executed, but the concept for what they are really made the gameplay, in my opinion, more fun. I like this gameplay pattern better than medallions. If augments don't exist, medallions don't even need to be a thing on the Fortnite island. I honestly like the idea of a slot machine that can give you a special power-up that can change the way you play the game. In many ways, when augments were in the game, it was like creating your own custom class for your character. Like there were certain special power-ups and abilities that your build had. And your build might be different than somebody else's build. And now your builds are going head-to-head to see who's got the best items, who's got the best build between everybody. The other thing that was really cool about augments was that they were fun to combine with consumable items or weapons that gave special effects. Like imagine you have an augment like Bush Warrior, which when you're inside the bush, you get a bit of regenerating health, right? But you're combining that with the heat mechanic that also existed inside of Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 1. Well, now you're regenerating your health twice as fast. And maybe adding a slurp juice on top of that. Holy crap. Now you got all your health back within like 5 seconds. This is just one example that I can think of off the top of my head, but there are other ways you can mix and match augments with special abilities and special weapons that had abilities to just create the perfect custom class. Like I said at the start of the video, it frustrates me that these aspects of Fortnite have been missing for so long, especially when they've added so much fun and utility to the overall gameplay loop. However, even as egregious as these are, they pale in comparison to the last two, which I feel make Fortnite the most fun that it could possibly be. But before I mention these next two features, there's one more bonus thing that I need to talk about, which just objectively makes playing Fortnite more fun, which is using code Clark in the item shop. You thought I was gonna forget, didn't you? Nah, I'm plugging the creator code in this video too. I wanna thank everybody that's been using my creator code lately. It seriously means the world to me, guys. And once again, remember, the revenue generated from my creator code is what goes to paying for my editors, for thumbnails, videos, as well as my map guy, Stu, which by the way, Stu and I have two huge map projects that are going to be coming out, UEFN projects. I cannot wait for you guys to see them. And by you using my creator code, by buying stuff that you're already going to get in the Fortnite item shop anyway, it helps me pay my boy Stu so I can get more maps for you so we can play them on stream. So it makes playing Fortnite more fun. I'm just saying. Now, outside of using the greatest creator code in existence, what are the last two things that just make Fortnite more fun that Epic Games is currently leaving out? The second to last one is something that you guys bring up all the time. We got a little taste of this coming back last year, but it wasn't enough, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of your guys' opinion as well. Just to get it out there, it's LTMs. I honestly believe that one of the main reasons why old Fortnite, OG Fortnite, was so fun wasn't just because of how cool the base game was, but it was also because we constantly had new experiences that Epic Games threw at us to keep us excited and refreshed about playing the BR genre. Whether it be food fight, unvaulted, close encounters, catch, the floor is lava, solid gold. Name your favorite LTM. It was a different spin on playing the main Fortnite game. I understand that we have creative now, and there are fantastic experiences that are made by people in the community. Heck, I was just even talking about creating my own maps to play with you guys on stream. Those things will always have their place. Community-made games. However, there is something to be said about a Fortnite official game mode where Epic goes to their dev team and is like, hey, go make something really dope that will appease the community for like 2 weeks and keep them busy while we work on the next main BR update. There are so many LTMs that I would like to see come back, but also I would like to see some new LTMs being made as well. In a way, it kind of echoes the same sentiment I had when looking at trap slots. Like, these are fun things that you used to do that were staples of the game, but now that you've left them out for so long, it makes me curious, like, one, what a newer version of an LTM would look like, but two, I want you to continue that meta. I want you to continue your ideas, explore new concepts, and that's another thing that I think LTMs are great for. It allows Epic to not have to worry about staying in one box. You can go crazy with the ideas. They can be as creative as they want to be, and it's also an amazing testing bed for new concepts and new mechanics that they want to work on. If they wanted to make a wrecked LTM, even bring the Chapter 5 map back and just bring that period of Fortnite back for a limited amount of time, I would be cool with that. Do it for a couple of weeks and then take it away. You see, that's the other thing that I don't think Epic really understands, is that LTMs are an experience. People love experiences inside of Fortnite. For example, like we always talk about, the live events for one, but two, something that we were begging for last year to come back, and they did it in full force, were the seasonal events, specifically Fortnite Mirrors and Winterfest. Both of them last year were absolute bangers. After 2 years of everybody being worried about whether or not we were going to get another good Fortnitemares or Winterfest ever again, they fully delivered. Seasonal events are back, and they're honestly better than ever. That's amazing. It almost feels like we didn't really get them for 2 years. I know we did, right? We did get them, but when we got them back, it was like, oh my gosh, this is what Epic can do with a modern take on seasonal events. This is what a modern Fortnitemares looks like, or a modern Winterfest looks like. It would work the exact same way when it comes to LTMs. Give me a new modern take on an LTM. Okay, let's take a step back. We've talked about a lot so far, but there's one more thing that's been on my mind for a long time, which out of everything that I mentioned, frustrates me the most about it not being inside of Fortnite. This one right here is the most important feature that needs to be added to all Fortnite game modes, and that thing is Siphon. I don't care what anybody says, but Siphon was literally the best thing to ever happen to Fortnite. Whether you're playing builds or zero builds, Fortnite is an insanely complex and difficult game to master. Even some of the best players have trouble when it comes to being third-partied in fights. And when you look at all the various game modes and the average skill level of all the players, it does not make sense at any point in time in any playlist in modern Fortnite that Siphon does not exist in all modes. I know that Ninja's a big fan of minis being granted on kill and reload. I agree with him. I think that that's great. However, you don't normally have time to drink those minis if you're getting pressed by another team or another player. Last year in Chapter 5 Season 4, we had Siphon Trials in competitive for both builds and zero builds. I tried it in zero builds, competitive, absolutely amazing, made the game so much more fun. I understand that some people say that Siphon shouldn't be in pubs, but definitely needs to be in competitive. First of all, I 10 trillion% agree with you in the competitive sense. It does not make sense that the best players in the world are not getting Siphon when they are eliminating people. That would just completely change the dynamic of how you push fights. Honestly, in a lot of ways, Siphon makes people more aggressive, but there's also like a high risk, high reward element with it too. Like, I can push all these fights and I can get kills, but I also risk getting third-partied by pushing this fight. And even if I get my Siphon back, am I really going to live through this altercation? Really, Siphon is a great way to reward good players, but I think it also rewards bad ones too, which is why I think it should be in pubs. Let's say you're playing squads, you're the anchor of your team, but your teammate gets somebody pretty low. You come in with a cheeky little shot around the corner with a shotgun, you knock them, they get thirsted, you get your health back. Guess what, Jimmy? You're now back in the fight. Congratulations, soldier. Let's get you back out there to start clapping shit. Oh, you're knocked. Okay, well then. You had your fun. My point is that even for bad players, it can be a huge advantage to have back in the game. And I don't think this needs to be exclusive for competitive Fortnite. One of the big reasons Epic gave back in the day for taking Siphon out was because it made people too aggressive and people were thirsting far too much. Well, Epic, it's been, what, 6 years since you took Siphon out of pubs, and I'm still getting thirsted. There is no shortage of people thirsting me at all, but I can tell you what I am short on: health. And sometimes when I'm in these fights where I kill 2, maybe 3 people in a row, but there's that 4th guy that pulls up, it's a war of attrition. Eventually, I'm going to get clapped. If I could at least get 50 health back, whether that be HP or shield, maybe one carries over to the other, whatever. If I can just get 50 health back, that would keep me in the fight longer and give me a better fighting chance. I really don't know why anyone would be against getting health back for being good at the game or for getting a kill. That just makes getting kills even more rewarding than it was before. Let me also say this, and this might be a hot take, but I think Fortnite is always more fun when the player base is a bit more aggressive. And what I mean by that is not players getting mad at each other, arguing about gameplay mechanics, or calling Epic Games a greedy billion-dollar company, but what I'm referring to is more so how people push fights. When you have people that are more comfortable pushing fights, that are more aggressive towards fights, it makes the fights more consistent, which means you're getting into fights more often, which means you're going to get better at Fortnite, which means you're going to have more fun. Even bad players can stand to be a bit more aggressive and push fights a bit more often when you know you're going to be getting your health back at the end of the skirmish if you win. Now, I want you to take everything that we talked about and imagine all of these things working together in tandem in Fortnite as it exists today. So that means trap slots are active in Fortnite, having old traps returning and new traps being developed. You have special weapons at specific rarities, as well as upgrades to those weapons that are available all around the map, including black market weapons or items that could give you special abilities or special types of weapons. You've got augments that could stack on top of those abilities and weapons, giving you your own custom class to use against other players, mix and matching different abilities together to figure out what your best play style is. Not to mention, when you engage in fights, you know that if you get a kill, you're gonna get some health back outside of the augments or special abilities that you already have attached to your character. And when you get bored with all of this wackiness inside of Fortnite, there are the LTMs to hold your hand and be like, hey, come over here, try a different experience. To me, this would be the peak perfect version of Fortnite that has ever existed, and it doesn't. And I have no idea why these things are being left out. There's one last thing I want to mention that's going to tie all of this together in one nice shiny bow. When you take pre-existing concepts that are huge aspects of your game that people come to know your game for, and you not only keep them in, but you layer them on top of each other, not only does that add a new layer of depth to your overall game, but it also creates a sense of familiarity for your core player base, for your most loyal hardcore players. It's a more rewarding gaming experience. But when you throw in a curveball, like adding in a new type of trap item or a new type of augment that kind of completely changes the way I look at the overall gameplay or changes the meta in a significant way, that gets me more excited. Ironically, by bringing back old elements of Fortnite or keeping some of these old elements in, it makes Fortnite feel more fresh. Like we talked about in the last video, Epic is really playing it safe when it comes to the season themes because there's certain concepts that they know work very well, but they haven't done it when it comes to some of their core gameplay patterns that have existed over the course of Fortnite's history. And it would be nice to mix a lot of these things together. But I want to know how you guys feel about this idea. Do you think that this would be the perfect version of Fortnite if we incorporated all of these elements together? But maybe you have a different definition of perfection. If so, let me know in the comments down below. Listen, guys, I love y'all. I got more content coming for y'all soon. Let me know how you feel about this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.